I'm Matt Gishard, and this is No Hold Barred. Today we're going to talk about autonomous vehicles, and is the technology really there yet? So we all hear about autonomous vehicles. We hear about the city of San Francisco. There are test cases all over. Almost every day there are autonomous vehicles driving around San Francisco. And of course, we've also heard that pulling into bus stops and not moving for long periods of time, stopping in the middle of the road and not moving for periods of time, doing things that everybody says, what the heck is going on with that driver? Well, in those cases, there is no driver. But let's move back a little bit into a number of automobiles that in fact have self-driving features. Autonomous vehicles, yes, they have drivers behind the wheel that are supposed to take control of the vehicle, but we've all heard about the case of the guy driving his car, reading a newspaper, gets in an accident. Let's talk about some of the issues that have come up and some of the issues facing us in the future with autonomous vehicles. And we all recognize AI is fabulous, and it can figure out all kinds of situations and all kinds of things. But I'm going to give you an example. What about the autonomous vehicle that's going down the road at 50 miles an hour or so, fast enough so that it just can't stop on a dime? And all of a sudden, out in front of that vehicle, a young kid runs. To the left of the vehicle, in the opposite direction, is a lot of traffic going the opposite way. That's just across this little double yellow line. And to the right of that vehicle is a bus stop with a whole bunch of kids waiting for the bus. So let's talk about AI. What decision does that vehicle make? Run over the kid? Run over the kids at the bus stop? Or turn into the left lane and cause a head-on accident? What's the decision? Good question. There's no answer yet. There's no answer yet because we have all these moving parts. Lots of research says we're going to get there. No doubt about it, we're going to get there. But in a state like California, we're probably not really going to get there in a safe fashion until every car, every bus, every truck is an autonomous vehicle. We all know, we hear every day about, we can't force people out of their cars. We can't force people, everybody, to buy an electric car. How about the poor people? So you picture in the next few years when so many people are going to be driving fancy electric cars and autonomous vehicles, how about the poor folks who can't afford it? How about the old guy who's got that 1956 Ford pickup truck that runs perfectly, that he puts gas in and drives down the road? How does an autonomous vehicle deal with him? Well, the AI says we're going to predict this is how people will drive. This is what a person will do. Will that guy in that 56 Ford pickup truck do that? So that's the problem. We're going to have lots of cars with people behind the wheels who can't afford their autonomous vehicle, and they are going to be interacting on the road with people who have autonomous vehicles. Some reading the Wall Street Journal while they're driving, and others, there's nobody. Tell the car to go down to the local Burger King and get a couple burgers and bring them back. And that will ultimately happen. Here's another thought. A person goes to a party with his autonomous vehicle, goes in and gets so drunk, but he's already programmed his car that when he comes back out and gets into the vehicle, it's going to take him home. On the way home, for whatever reason, there's an accident. Is that driver a drunken driver? How about that rule? What are we going to do with that if we have people that don't have capacity to step up and take over in that car. Are they drunk drivers or are they not? I wasn't driving. It was programmed. The accident wasn't my fault. So those are all thoughts that we have to think about and we have to program into this autonomous driving program. How about insurance companies? Are they going to charge extra money for autonomous vehicles as opposed to regular vehicles? Or are they going to charge less because that vehicle is going to make the right decision in almost every situation, whereas a human being, the error of a human being is going to be different. We all know the future is that we go out and either climb into our drone or get into our autonomous vehicle and press a button and it takes us where we want to go and we don't even think about it. But we are not there yet. It's interesting that the government is willing to subsidize the purchase of electric vehicles and electric vehicles that have that autonomous driving component to it. And that's all good. But who benefits from that? The average poor person can't afford to buy it, so the subsidy doesn't do them any good. The point is, we need to come back and look at this in the future. And we will. We'll have another episode on autonomous vehicles as the science progresses. But for right now, in spite of what everyone hopes and wishes, we're not there yet. So let's talk about some of the examples that we know about, not just speculation. Let's talk about what we've seen in happening. So recently there was an accident on the Bay Bridge. A vehicle that had the ability to be autonomous made the decision, well, without the help of the driver who was in the vehicle, and perhaps I shouldn't say driver, the person that was occupying the seat where the driver normally goes. That vehicle just decided to stop right in the middle of traffic. And it was traffic at a decent speed. And if you recall in the newspapers, I think there were 8 or so other vehicles that crashed into that. It was a heck of a big accident on the Bay Bridge. That was an autonomous vehicle. So what are we going to do about the vehicles that make their own decisions about, I'm going to stop? And how does that impact other people who are driving around them? How about the guy who goes to work and he's reading the Wall Street Journal and his Tesla decides to crash into somebody else or to run over somebody? And all the testing is that vehicle recognizes peril in the road and can stop. Why didn't it stop? We don't know why it didn't stop, but it didn't stop. So I would suggest that if you're going to read the Wall Street Journal when you're driving, you ought to keep it down just enough so that you can see over the top of it. And if any peril comes, you're able to take over control of that vehicle. But as long as we have the kinds of issues that we have, we can't just let cars go out on. We have taxi cabs that are autonomous in San Francisco that are pulling into bus stops or just stopping in the middle of traffic. And nobody can quite figure out what's going on. And then after some period of time, and several have been a number of minutes, the vehicle then goes on its merry way. That needs to be fixed. And I'm certain that it will be fixed. But when we look back at it and we continue to say, are we ready yet? We're not ready yet. And there are many more examples and some very serious bodily injury and death cases where somebody got their fancy car, let's use the term Tesla, pressed in, went to sleep, took a nap, and that car got into an accident and people were seriously injured. So we're not there yet as much as we hope we'll be there. I could give many more examples, but I look forward to a future episode of No Holds Barred where we can see, hopefully, that the science and technology have gotten better. But I will tell you this, folks, as long as there are other vehicles on the road that are not autonomous, that are not electric, that don't have the kind of technology, we're not going to be there yet. So in my opinion, for those of you who have autonomous vehicles or the ability to push a button and have it self-drive while you're snoozing or reading your newspaper, be very mindful of your liability, because if that vehicle does not operate as you expected it when you gave it control rather than you control, and it gets in an accident or seriously injures somebody or both, you are going to be liable, not the vehicle. If you like the content of this episode, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This really helps with the YouTube algorithm.